Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in Skeleton Crew Episode 6. Guys, I love this show. Not only is it filled with deep-cut Easter eggs to the OT and the Clone Wars, but it always makes sure to put its characters first. In fact, I think that's why this show succeeds in places where maybe other shows like Book of Boba Fett or Ahsoka failed, but I'll talk more about that in a second. So I want to let you guys know that in just a week and a half, we are going to be in LA and Phoenix for our live shows. With exclusive breakdowns, special guests, it's going to be Pee-wee's Playhouse live for nerds, and we have a special sneak peek coming later in the video. So this episode was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, daughter of screen legend Ron Howard, and this is actually the 4th Star Wars episode she has helmed. She previously directed the excellent Mandalorian episodes The Sanctuary and The Heiress, and the Book of Boba Fett episode The Return of the Mandalorian. And in this episode, she brought a great mix of action and high character stakes. So the episode starts immediately after Mad Jack takes control of the ship and flushes away the kids.
Who's Mad Jack?
Jude Law's character. At this point, he gets a new nickname every episode, and in my mind, they are all interchangeable. Now, when he is captured, we hear that another one of his nicknames is actually Dash Renton, very similar to the Star Wars Legends character Dash Rendar. Dash Rendar first appeared in the expanded universe novel Shadows of the Empire, which took place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and was another criminal-based novel with Luke and Leia going up against the Black Sun Syndicate. So the kids falling through the slide is like a triple Easter egg. It, of course, calls to mind Luke falling down the tunnels in The Empire Strikes Back. But remember, this happened immediately after Vader revealed that he was Luke's father. It was the moment when Luke felt like his mentor figure, Obi-Wan, had lied to him.
He betrayed and murdered your father.
So, at the moment he feels most betrayed, he plunges into the depths of Cloud City, just like how these kids were betrayed by Mad Jack and then are sent into the bowels of the pirate hideout. And there was a similar trash chute in Ron Howard's The Grinch That Stole Christmas. It's likely that Bryce Dallas Howard did this as an homage because her Mandalorian episode The Heiress contained a sequence meant to emulate her dad's movie Apollo 13. But the slides are also another fun Easter egg to the Goonies, when the kids escape the final pirate booby trap and fall into the grotto to discover One-Eyed Willie's ship. Now, this adventure has taken its toll on KB's Augs, short for augmentations, because she is a cyborg.
A cyborg? But I thought she was one of the good guys. We gotta stop the machine uprising before it starts, person.
KB is a good guy. Like, even though Darth Vader is a cyborg, being part machine does not make you a villain in the Star Wars galaxy. For instance, in The Empire Strikes Back, Lando Calrissian's friend and Majordomo Lobot was cybernetic. And we even see many similarities to KB and Lobot in this episode, from the flashing lights of her headgear down to the way she shuts herself down to reboot herself. On the surface, when Jude Law emerges, he is covered in jewels. Another Easter egg to the Goonies, when the Fratelli gang raids Willie's ship for jewelry just before they're captured, just like Mad Jack was captured here. On the surface, we see several Star Wars species, including this one that we first saw at the Canto Bight Casino in The Last Jedi. Of course, there's a Mon Cala here, and the bulbous person here is a Z-Deck, like the opera singer that we saw in the Canto Bight Casino. And Jod is also apprehended by a Weequay. Now, there are lots of other species that I'm going to talk about as we go along.
Hey there, person, what are you drinking?
Well, my New Year's resolution this year is to be healthier, which, yes, means I got to work out and exercise, but also I realized that I couldn't ever get healthy if I didn't start taking just better care of myself. So I'm drinking AG1.
Oh yeah, AG1. I know what that is. But for everybody else, what is that?
AG1 is great. They're a daily dietary supplement and the sponsor of this video. Guys, AG1 is a research-backed daily health drink that combines a multivitamin, probiotic, and a blend of superfoods into just one scoop. You see, AG1 supports whole body health, your brain, your gut, and your immune system. It's perfect for filling in the nutrient gaps in my diet, and it also supports my energy levels. And I gotta tell you guys, I use AG1 all the time, usually in the morning to start my day.
Yeah, but what does it do?
It supports my energy levels and replenishes commonly under-consumed daily micronutrients. And it is also very easy to use. You have 1 scoop. I like to add in 1 drop of the vitamin D. You have 8 ounces of water. Shake. And you're on your way to a healthier day. So we have a special deal for you guys. If you click my link or scan this QR code, AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of the vitamin D, and 5 travel packs for free. Believe me, I travel a lot during the holidays. These really come in handy. So go to drinkag1.com/ScreenCrush or scan the QR code to get started. Thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. So Jod tries to defend himself, saying,
I was coming to find you.
which remember is exactly what another pirate archetype, Han Solo, said to Jabba the Hutt when he was captured.
I was just on my way to pay you back, and I got a little sidetracked.
In fact, Jod shows a lot of Han Solo energy with how everything he does immediately goes wrong.
33! Attack!
33 was shot with an ion blaster, which disables electronics.
Oh, is that new?
Nope, they've been around for a long time. The Rebels fired ion cannons at the Imperial ships in The Empire Strikes Back to escape their blockade. I also like how he is also covered in jewelry, just like his namesake Smee was when he was trying to escape the Jolly Roger in Steven Spielberg's Hook. And I just want to give a big shout out to composer Mick Giacchino for his work in this episode. His score strikes a balance between like traditional pirate shanties, and later he hits more genuine emotional notes.
KB, I am so sorry for not listening. No, I'm sorry.
He is, of course, the son of composer Michael Giacchino, whose credits include Up, The Batman, and directing Werewolf by Night. And then the New Republic X-Wings show up because
you know the cops are always going to show up when rich people get robbed.
well, you're not wrong. At the junkyard, we meet these trash crabs, who we kind of already met in the kids' book, Choose Your Own Destiny, A Luke and Leia Adventure. So these things have some neat Easter eggs attached to them, like how this one has a protocol droid leg for a shell, and this one is made from an Imperial mouse droid. So for me, this is when the episode got really interesting. The kids have been thrown into one disaster after the next, and this is the first time they ever really get a chance to sit still so we can see how their character dynamics are going to play off one another. Wim, the dreamer, immediately anthropomorphizes the crabs, thinking their single word thought,
We can follow them to someone who can help.
is meant to help him, when really it's just a command sent out by the mama crab. And Fern is used to being stubborn and independent, and let's face it, she's a little bit spoiled, so she doesn't like it when she doesn't get her own way. And Neil, awesome little Neil, always wants people to stop fighting and talk things out, which remember was also his advice to the warring factions on Ad Akron.
This isn't fair. You shouldn't have to be at war all the time.
But the standout of this episode is, of course, KB, and we're going to talk about her character growth just a little bit later in the video. And then we see the base of Captain Brutus, which Clone Wars fans will recognize as a Republic medical station. So this thing is an old relic from the Clone Wars, which at this point would have occurred almost 40 years before. And remember, in The Mandalorian Episode 6, the criminals that Din worked with in that episode also operated out of a very similar base. So it makes sense that pirates would work with whatever material that they could scavenge, including medical bases from decades before. The first guy to speak is a Kenourian, but we also see the same crew that we saw in the first episode, such as this two-eyed Gran, a Klaatu, a Trandoshan, an Aqualish, and this Quarren, who we find out just his only dream is to settle down and raise kelp.
That glowweed plantation we all know you're saving up for.
Now, this makes sense because his people are from Mon Cala, the oceanic planet that hosted an amazing 3-episode arc in the Clone Wars. In that arc, we met another classic Star Wars species, This Is Your Mom. So when they take him captive, Gunter calls the other pirates bilge rats. So this is actually naval slang that has been around for centuries, used to insult a pirate crew. Like, I love how so many old pirate customs are now reinterpreted for space in this show. Like how walking the plank is now death by airlock, or how the hourglass is filled with plasma instead of sand. There's also a lot of talk about the Pirates Code, which is also the rule of pirate law that we saw used in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, as pointed out by Screen Rant's Kevin Erdman in his Easter egg piece for that website. When Mad Jack tries to talk his way out of a jam to Brutus, for example, it's mirroring how Captain Jack Sparrow had a parlay with Barbossa in the first film.
Parlay?
In his speech, he says,
We're all hungry!
and I think that's interesting because this doesn't just refer to pirates. I think this is the defining trait of the Star Wars galaxy. Like, ever since the first movie, we have always seen poverty in this galaxy. Even though people are capable of building these great civilizations, trillions and trillions of people still get left behind to scrape out a living from the mud. Like in a galaxy like Star Trek, goods and material can be replicated, but in Star Wars, everything is scarce, so everyone is always fighting to make a living. He also uses the curse word criffing, which has been around in Star Wars novels for years, but this show has finally brought it into live action. And then he sings a good old-fashioned pirate chanty about Takranad looking for At-Aten.
For at Atten he did plunder.
And notice that the song doesn't know the real ending of the story, that Tak-Ren had died on At-Aten and his quest for treasure ended poorly for him. Now, I'm still going to go with my theory that Tak-Ren is actually the droid 33, and I don't think that we've seen the last of him in that junk pile just yet. So then we get to the meat of the episode, where the kids all experience character growth and we get to know the cast a bit better. Fern learns a lesson in leadership. On At-Aten, she was able to just joyride and go as fast as she wanted. She faced no consequences at home and was basically a spoiled brat. But now, as As a leader, her first duty is always to the slowest member of her team, so she has to learn to look after Neil. See, I think it was genius that this episode divided the team up into unlikely pairs, because this forced the characters to get out of their comfort zones. For instance, Wim learns that saving someone's life doesn't mean you have to use a lightsaber, like he tried last episode as we see here.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
I'm sorry, I meant here. I just love that Palpatine clip, and that is why we created our Somehow Palpatine Return t-shirt, which now you can get as a hoodie for cold weather or on mugs, along with a ton of our other favorite designs at our merch store, such as Original Trilogy. So for updates on new designs and deals, you can subscribe to our newsletter. We actually have some big designs we're dropping later this month that I cannot wait to show you guys. Links for everything are below. So a few episodes ago, we heard KB's parents mention a GPS tracker in her.
We lost the signal to KB's life monitor.
And now we find out why she has that tracker.
Ever since my accident.
KB had an accident, so her parents want to keep track of her. But the only reason she has these augmentations is because she had an accident and she would die without them. Like, I love this revelation so much. First of all, she's a good role model for kids with disabilities, but it also lets this episode teach KB a lesson that she does not have to do everything that Fern does in order for her to be her friend. KB is dealing with this lingering fear that her disabilities will make her feel less than, and that because of her augs, she will always be alone. I thought this sequence was tremendous when the show just pauses to focus the action on two characters sharing a life-changing moment in the snow. Like, that's why I think of this show as the anti-Ahsoka or the anti-Book of Boba Fett.
What do you mean?
Well, the Book of Boba Fett was fun, right? Like, it had a lot of cool characters in the same place, but they never really did establish why Boba Fett wanted to be in charge, why he wanted to be a crime boss. Why would he not just want to go live a life of peace with some other Tusken tribe? The show did a terrible job of letting us know what Boba Fett wanted or understanding his motivation. There are scenes where he says he wants to be in charge, and we see his whole backstory with the Tuskens, which was interesting, but we never understood why it had to be Jabba's palace. What was his driving motivation in that show? Whereas in this show, we are seeing all of these character interactions play out in a much more organic way. And KB's story even adds in this ticking clock, with her about to die because she couldn't trust her own limits. For me, the lesson there is that the Book of Boba Fett put Easter eggs first, whereas this show puts character first. Now, KB and Wim chasing after crabs seems like another nod to the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise when Jack Sparrow chases after the crabs in At World's End. And of course, these crabs are like a Star Wars retelling of The Walrus and the Carpenter.
Now, do you say what now?
So The Walrus and the Carpenter is a poem by Lewis Carroll where the titular characters persuade oysters to follow them along the beach so they can shuck and eat them.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yes, and it's a cautionary tale about trusting strangers. So Wim says,
How come I'm always wrong about who's the good guy?
because he was the one who was convinced that Jod was a good Jedi Knight, and this is all because he sees the world through the Jedi tales that he loved to read. Now, so far, Wim's naivete has been a weakness, but I do think there's going to be a point in the show when his optimism and trust in people is going to turn the tide. My prediction for episode 7 and 8. Then Fern and Neil rescue them, and just for a moment, the shot where they ride on top of the ship looks like Bastion riding on top of Falkor in the Neverending Story. And then all that character building pays off when KB and Fern reunite.
You're my best friend, my best friend.
I actually got emotional watching that scene because we get to see these two people truly accept each other for who they are. And all it took was one really good dialogue scene that was incredibly well acted by this cast to make me invest in them as characters. Then they get sucked into this furnace trash machine, which of course calls to mind the trash compactor in Toy Story 3, but also the climax of the brave little toaster when the appliances are about to be destroyed by a trash compactor in the toaster. Oh man, you have to see it. It's one of my favorite movies. It's great. So, of course though, this is Star Wars, so this is all an homage to the trash compactor in A New Hope. In fact, this episode and the movie both feature a monster that lives in the trash pile, which represents a false natural threat before the real threat of the technology or the machine. And get this, the crabs and the giant crab were all stop motion.
No way, what's that mean?
Well, it means that they were all physical models that they built and then moved frame by frame, you know, like they did in old school Star Wars. So then Wim goes to the turret to shoot.
Hey, isn't it kind of weird that little kids are using weapons in this show?
Actually, dude, the kids in the show were like 10, and in A New Hope, Luke was 17 and Han was like 30. So these kids are actually closer in age to Luke than Luke was to Han.
Oh my God, I am so old.
The R-Badge on this console reads warning. Now, KB, who earlier saw her augmentations as a weakness, now gets to use her technological prowess to save the ship. It's a subtle way to bring her arc in this episode full circle, as the kids remember Chekhov's do not touch button.
You can never, ever, ever touch it.
So this button reminded me of the red elevator button in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, a kind of forbidden switch that takes courage to push. Now, in that story, the button transforms the Wonka Vader into a flying elevator. And in this show, the button shreds the outer, crusty hull, and there is a lot of symbolism attached to this. First, this is the kids shedding the past and taking control of the ship for themselves. It's no longer a crusty, barnacle-ridden pirate ship run by adults. It is a sleek, shiny new ship run by kids. This episode marks a turning point for this team. Not only are they tightening as a group, but they've also learned that they can't trust authority figures, and they can only rely on themselves. Now, they can fly the ship, they can work the weapons, and KB has the coordinates to Atten, so they are going home. And there's a running theme here of growth and hermit crabs. See, hermit crabs carry along a shell until their body outgrows it, and then they find a larger shell. You know, like the scrap crabs that we see in this episode. But for the kids, they're shedding the outer layer of the ship like a snake. Now, in a way, this is showing their growing maturity, but also the ship becoming smaller means that the ship is being shaped to fit them instead of them trying to grow up to fit inside this pirate lifestyle.
Well, yeah, but why was there a magic button to make the ship's skin blow up?
Well, because if the ship was, say, trapped in a tractor beam, they could blow the outer hull and escape.
Continue.
Well, guys, that was another fun ScreenCrush video for another perfect day here in the ScreenCrush universe. Gosh, I love you guys, I love our fans, and I love my job.
Yeah, it sure is great being us.
I hate that ScreenCrush and Ryan Airy. You see, I, Paul from the Heavy Spoilers channel, I also hate small dogs because obviously I'm a bad person. Now I know something that's really gonna get them. I'm gonna send them to a far away, far distant city where they can never come back. I'm sending them to
Los Angeles, California.
Well, I don't know, boss. That seems kind of mean.
shut up or I'll give you a fresh one. Now activate the Destructo Beam.
That's right, the ScreenCrush store is going to come to a city near you where we're going to bring you special guests, exclusive breakdowns, one-on-one fan meetups, and fan Q&As. Will me and Doug find our way home, or will Heavy Spoilers succeed in destroying our very way of life? Come to the live show to find out what happens next. So guys, let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.